Let's rewind. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Four Students Podcast. It's really cool to be here again. It's me, Ed, and your favorite, Kelly, and it's so cool. Dr. Charryse Johnson is on the podcast today. Superstar.
She's so cool.
She is so cool. And she so almost effortlessly drops these really kind of like beautiful pieces of truth on us.
Like they're rehearsed, but you can tell that they're not.
Yeah, it's just like, is this really you? Are you really actually this cool and like poignant in all of the things that you say? It's
I feel like
cool.
At least twice, maybe more, I felt myself going like,
Yes, like preach.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was
Say
legit.
that for the people in the back.
Yes.
It was so good.
Yeah, the part when she's going to talk about relationships a little bit, particularly as you're forming new relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And we're filming this beginning of June. We just finished our year-end conference for all these graduating seniors who have now graduated. There's a few of them that still, I think graduation's coming up this week for a lot of students, but they're headed off to school. And she talks really kind of beautifully about the way to a filter, at least through which to think about friendships, which I think is going to be incredibly helpful for people.
Yep. She talks about her journey of like figuring out self-love and acceptance and empathy and all of those things, which are really cool. She talks about her mom being a freaking rock star.
Yeah, I think.
And like literally, she sounds amazing.
Yeah. Her mom sounds incredible. And you'll hear it's just really neat what type of an individual that she ended up being able to be raised by. It was really cool.
Really cool.
And then before we came on camera with her and all of that, like here at Everybody Studios, they offered us some water. And I was like educated. She had this whole insight on She says she's a self-proclaimed water snob, and they brought me this.
She's talking all about pH levels and
yes,
stuff.
and I was like, yeah, I mean, I know that chemistry-wise, I know pH, I know that it feels differently or whatever, I guess, but they brought me Icelandic glacial water. You both freaked out.
Okay, because it's the best one. On the scale of awesome waters, it's the best one.
Is it really? So
truthfully,
who
yes.
Did Icelandic do this study?
No. Well, I mean,
but
no,
I mean,
I don't think so.
We don't know.
I can't say for sure.
Yeah,
but
we need to find out who funded the water study. But you said out of the one that you saw, this one was rated number 1.
It was rated number 1, and Fiji water was rated 2nd.
There you go. So there is a difference in water, and I talked about the fact that I drank hose water growing up, and we all said, yeah, we all drank hose water. Did. But now
that we
we've
know
tasted,
better.
now we know better, and we've tasted different. This doesn't have that rubbery aftertaste like the inside of a hot garden hose where you had to let the water run for a while for it to cool down because it would be hot.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yes.
But yeah, it actually has the pH 8.4 here on it, and it was and is really good. So shout
off camera
out
5 seconds ago, you were like, this water really is smooth.
It is, and it's I don't know. There is a difference between water, which makes sense. But, but it was funny that she knew about that. She travels all over speaking at all these conferences and on TV, radio, etc. And then she told us that here in a short time she's going to be in Paris speaking at this women's conference. So it's a really cool episode.
Yep.
Really cool episode.
Lots of tidbits of like information to pull from. So
yeah.
Get your notepads ready.
Get your notepads ready. Get that finger over the quivering over the pause button, ready to push it so you can write the stuff down. But before we jump into that really quickly, last night we were at your oldest son's baseball game. They won their championship at their baseball game.
Yeah, my son Sawyer is 8 years old, and he is a baseball player, and he has these lofty dreams of being professional. And
as we all did.
All of those things.
Yeah.
So he and his team took home the championship last night. They were
the Fireballs.
The Pitbull song
just plays
constantly, like in between every inning, because
it's so
we're
funny
in
to
charge.
go to this little league game, and there's like hype music for each batter.
Yes,
like
each
now
batter
up to bat number whatever, and then they have their own hype song. It's oh my gosh. It's made it from the giant ballparks from Fenway all the way down to Mint Hill's little baseball park.
Why not?
I mean, why not? Sure. Let's hype them up.
These are core memories.
These are core memories, and they are definitely going to be embedded deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And the song Fireball is going to mean something to them for the
Forever.
rest of their lives.
But it's so fun. It's like this smaller community. And so we know players on the other team.
Yep, yeah.
And so
because they've even played together on different teams.
They've played together before. They all go to the same school for the most part. There's some outliers, but there's lots. And so yesterday at school, I heard from multiple people like, all the whole school is talking about is this game. Like they're smack talking each other in the
grade is Sawyer
hallways.
in now?
He's in second.
Second grade. That's so funny.
He's about to be in third.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, but it was yeah. I wrote on my Instagram today. I made a post with all of his pictures, but it was the sweetest thing. He was snuggled up next to me last night, falling asleep. Ezra was already asleep right here, and he was like, I'm so proud of myself.
Oh, dude,
and that was like
go.
the last thing that he said right before he fell asleep. And I was like, oh, like, gosh, I hope that you're dreaming such beautiful things about yourself.
Affirming
like
dreams.
Those affirming self-confidence that like, yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
I know. It was so
and
cute.
even ties into what people are about to hear on Dr. J's podcast too. It all ties in. My gosh. What a beautiful little like kind of tie-in. No, that was really fun. It was fun to be there and see him win and all that. And these kids, you know, they all have their eye black on. Or he had his, did he have his number or what was on it written on his face last night?
Yeah, he had an S on this one and number 9 on this one. And by the end, it was so smeared that this looked like a dollar sign. And I was like,
9 money.
Okay. Not
that's
that far.
Kind of funny.
But
that's
now
hilarious.
he'll probably want dollar signs
nice,
next
like
season.
Dollar signs, dollar bills.
Who knows?
At my house, like it's our oldest, her actual graduation is Tuesday morning. So like, not far away at all.
Your youngest.
Did I say my oldest?
You said oldest.
Shoot. Yes. My youngest. My oldest is actually now down leading 16 interns in Panama City Beach for this summer camp she works at. But but my youngest, her graduation is coming up in about a week, and we have all this family coming into town this weekend. So I've been painting stuff in the backyard and getting the backyard all nice for her graduation party. And that's our world. But it's officially summertime. And so it's kind of awesome to be summer. And it's going to be a great episode to kick off summertime.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, I think you all are going to love this. We're going to put all of her information in the show notes and stuff. But enjoy this interview with Dr. Charryse Johnson. Let's do it. Dr. Johnson, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's really fun because I think Kelly knows this. And while she wasn't here the first year for this event, you were.
Yeah.
And the very first ever, I'm wearing the shirt today even, next conference. Before it was even the next conference, it was just this 2-day event at Charlotte Latin School. And all these moms had gotten together and had been given 2 days with the senior class. And you ended up on that roster of people. You hadn't even finished your Ph.D. yet.
Not.
Even though I was brought in to host, like MC that event, and I kept calling you Dr. J the whole time. And it was just amazing. And I think from that moment, I was just like, my gosh, I love this lady. I love your energy, your kindness. You have this kind of magnetism and people just want to be around you. There's a kindness that I don't know, just kind of permeates everything that you say. And you were so informed and I don't know. It was just great. So how did you, if you don't mind, how did you end up being pulled in? Do you remember that? I mean, it's been like almost 5 years ago
One
now.
of those moms had just reached out to me. They wanted to, they were thinking about what kind of information or insight that they could give to the students. And I had a son that went to Charlotte Latin. I don't think he was a senior that year. I think he had just graduated.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were like, we know that you do some things with eating disorders, and that's an area where it's also kind of hard to find, but you also have a lot of college students as clients or, whatever. So that they just kind of reached out, and I was like, absolutely. I love students. And I say that like not everybody does, especially in my field.
Yeah,
okay, I was going to say like
sure.
everybody doesn't. But I have always worked with kids/students in some capacity all my life. So I'm always on board for that.
Yeah. And it was great. And
Yeah,
the reception was
so fun.
fantastic. And I mean, we had you, we had a pediatrician, we had all these different kind of professionals from the community come in, and it was it was that literally was our first
Yeah.
ever event of
Yeah.
what became this organization now.
Mhm.
And now you keep coming back, and I'm so thankful.
Absolutely.
I'm just so thankful.
Yes, you're stuck with
scared
me.
to
I have a
go away.
lifetime contract.
As long as you keep
We're
agreeing
okay
to
with
that,
that.
we're okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
really, really fun. So people who don't know you,
Mhm.
you just spoke to, this son that had graduated, 5 years ago from high school or so, or 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Fill us in a little bit, because like even family-wise, like
Yeah.
kids, married, where
Yeah.
did you grow up? Like tell us who Dr. Charryse is.
I was born in Queens, New York,
Okay.
and grew up partially there. And then we later moved to Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
where I stayed until I went to college. Went to college at Lee University, which is
Okay.
in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And that's where I met my husband. So we have been together 28, and this year 29. This year we'll celebrate 27 years of marriage, which
Wow.
blows my
Congrats.
mind.
That is
I
huge.
know.
Yeah,
It's
congratulations.
so wild. So he's my college sweetheart.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we have two amazing kids. My daughter is 25.
Okay.
And she's a content specialist. She's a creative. She's like my husband in female form. So my husband's
Okay.
a musician, sings, produces all the
Okay,
things.
the artist.
The artist. And she does the same thing with visuals and loves like telling stories. And then I have a 23-year-old son, RJ, who is a Division I basketball player. He's finishing up his last year before
Oh, wow.
potentially overseas or NBA. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
really
so
cool.
Yeah, which is really
That's
cool.
so
That's
fun.
exciting.
Yeah, they're my world, and I do a million things.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
We
So
know.
by day, I'm a therapist,
Uh-huh.
and I have a practice in Charlotte, see one-on-one clients, but I spend about half my time doing that, and then the other half, conferences,
Yeah.
retreats, speaking, educating. I really love doing out-of-the-box things. Everybody's not going to come sit in a chair
Right.
and talk. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm always thinking about how can I take the message of mental health and mindset and make it digestible, make it cool, make it something that makes sense so that people feel like the answers that they're looking for or just the insight that they look for is there. And then it's probably a lesser known fact to some, I'm also a registered yoga teacher, so an RYT 500, and I
That's
incorporate a lot of
amazing.
that.
That's really cool.
Like to stay busy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously.
That
That's-
one thing that you said about the not just everybody will sit on the couch. I think
Mhm.
that's really cool because you're kind of taking it to the people.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that is, you see that that's a need or a hole, and you're like, well, I can do something about that.
Yeah.
That's really
so
cool.
right. So it might be that like I wrote a book and
Mhm.
then my husband created a song to go along with the message of the book. And so, everybody's not going to read the book, but they'll listen to the song. Right? Music is one of those
Yeah,
things that you can.
absolutely.
So I take a lot of that even into whatever I'm doing. I might have somebody and go like, hey, what's on your playlist this week? If you could create a playlist based
Ooh.
on your life, what songs would be on it this week? It is the
That's really
coolest
cool.
thing to do to see,
Mhm.
what are you listening to on repeat? So yeah, creating a lot of videos or short content and things like that to help people.
Love it.
Yeah,
So cool.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's so obvious, like in that event and what we continue to try and do, with our organization is that entire senior class isn't going to make it to a therapist, isn't
Right.
going to make it somewhere. So we're going to try and bring at least content to them
Yeah.
while they're a captive audience. Some of
Yes.
them don't want to be there,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
maybe someone will hear something that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
So when you're working with students and you have kids kind of around the age of kids that I have, so we may be kind of similar in
Mhm.
age. When you think back to that time in your life, like high school, like
Mhm.
what was Charryse Johnson like in high school?
So in some ways, I feel like I was a lot like I am now. Like I've always been the person that would look at you and go, "How are you?" And you go, "I'm fine." And I go, "No, really." And then you'd be like, "Okay." You know what I mean? Like that always happens.
Yeah.
I was the person that people who didn't know me just felt comfortable coming up to and talked about. I've just always been very sensitive
Mm-hmm.
to how people are doing. I'm a wild card. I don't think that's unknown in any way, shape, or form.
For anyone that knows you.
Yeah. So love to think out of the box, love people. I'm an introvert, but I do love people, right?
Uh-huh,
At the same
right,
time.
yeah.
So I have that small core group of people. And I'm big on justice. So I'm also the person that is like, they said what to you? Let's go talk to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's not right.
Yeah, that's not right. And let's sit down and let's talk about that. So played sports. I did chorus. Played the double bass in the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my first degree, BA, is actually in vocal music. So my husband and I actually met singing, just like picking up
Okay.
those things. So, but I was doing all those things in high school. So one of the things that people who've known me for a long time say, which I love, and it means so much to me. They were like, it's so wild to see all the things that you're doing now, but it's even cooler to see that you haven't changed. Like it hasn't changed you no matter what. And that's really important to me.
No, that's really neat.
Yeah.
So there is this artist side to you as well. We were talking about this, your daughter and your husband
Yeah.
being
It's
the
not
artist,
just them.
but you're the artist as well.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I tell people I really am the least talented person in the family with what they can do. I really
Right.
am. But I think we all speak in a different language. Like I feel like my artistry shows up in words, where my daughter's is pictures, where with my husband and my son, it's more music or physical, movement. But yeah.
So that performance, like when you sing, and I mean, maybe, and if you were willing to, get this, bachelor's in that component there, you're comfortable in front of groups. Do you think, because you and I've had this conversation, so let me digress just for a second and kind of give some context about what I'm about to ask you.
Yeah.
We know so many people that are unbelievably talented therapists. They're so good. Their knowledge is almost bottomless. However, when it comes to presenting to a group, they're not, it's something breaks down there in between that one-on-one and that incredible ability one-on-one, and then that ability to get up and be comfortable and then present in a way that is not only informative, but, grabs attention. What would you attribute that to because you have that ability, because you are on podcasts, you speak in conferences, you speak on TV, you have this kind of wide kind of swath of people that you speak to.
I would say two things. The top thing is my mother. So my mother, who is no longer living, when we were younger, she was a speechwriter for Bell South, which is now AT&T. Like that dates where she was. So when we were little, she was like, you have to know how to speak for yourself. And we would just be like, oh, you please, no.
Yeah.
And she was like, you have to know how to speak when you're angry. You have to know how to speak when you're happy. So she would at random times just go, all right, stand up and give a 5-minute speech on blah, blah, blah. And we,
oh my God. Like at dinner or in the middle of the afternoon, or what do you mean?
Whenever. Dinner,
in the car,
out somewhere.
If you did that to me right now, I would be
I
like,
can feel your anxiety. I know, right? And so it's weird. Like right before I do anything, I'm a nervous wreck.
Really?
Internally, I am like, but I am passionate about what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I've learned to manage that to get there. And I think the other part of that is she very much protected my core nature. I was the kid who got in constant trouble in school until...
For what?
Talking.
Oh, okay. I would have guessed, but that was... Yeah,
like talking or getting up and helping other students. Like I was in second grade and had a,
Teacher's assistant.
teacher. Yes. He was like, I didn't ask you to be the TA. And I was like, but what you just spelled is not right. And she was like...
Oh, wow.
So it got so bad that she was like, when this child is not in... if it's not instruction, I need her out of the room. But I was like, they're struggling, like they're crying. You've got 25 students in the class.
Let me help you.
Yeah, let me help. So it would always be like straight A's and conduct was you, unsatisfactory, talks too much. So, but she very much protected that. And so when I was little, I was not as eloquent in my conversation. I was very blunt, too blunt. And she was like, your mouth is either going to be your greatest strength or your greatest struggle. And I don't want to take it away because I can see where it's the gift. But she was like, sweetheart, we have to hone this. And so in the time that she was with me, whereas another adult would be like, I cannot believe you let her have voice or talk, at all and have an opinion. She was very much like, she's allowed to have an opinion as long as that opinion is communicated in a respectable, way. So she really protected that. So I really give her full credit for that. And that just allowed my natural temperament to not be stifled. Yeah.
I can totally see that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing for her to recognize that. Yeah. And also we are just old enough where when I was really young, like kids, it was still the kids are to be seen, not heard kind of a thing.
And
particularly like down here in the South. I don't know if this was in Queens or if this was in Atlanta or what. Okay,
this was in the South. And so it was like I went to school, I will date myself, where I think they were on the tail end of your teacher could spank you.
Yeah,
You
there was
know,
paddling in my school.
there was paddling. So
Yeah.
that second grade teacher was like, "I'm going to take you in the hall and spank you," and I was like, "You are not going to do that. I don't get spankings in my house. That is not how we work through things. If you would like to go out in the hall and talk, we can." Oh, she
Whoa,
was
my gosh.
livid. I will never forget her.
I am certain.
Yeah, but
Oh my
you
gosh.
don't do that, and then you especially don't do that as a little black girl in the South.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah. But my mom was just like, everybody pause. We don't spank. That is not what we're going to do. That is not how we're going to solve things. And yeah, bless her heart.
Was that public school?
That was public school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted me to
I
go
grew
to a
up
private
that way
Yeah.
too, but
Yeah.
I was at this like hyper Christian
Yeah.
school, and
Yeah.
so that was very on
Yeah.
brand for
Yeah.
that.
She wanted me to go
demographic.
to a private school, and my other siblings did. But me being the special person that I am, they wore dresses, and I wasn't going to wear one. And I told her I would get kicked out if she sent me. And she was like,
That's
"And you're the
really
kid who
funny.
would. So you're going to go to public school," because I was like, I will put pants in my bag every day and switch
just
them.
change them in the
and just
bathroom when I
change
get to
it.
school.
She's just like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and she knew you meant it. You would speak your
did.
mind, and she knew.
I
You'd
love that.
follow through. Yeah, there was paddling in my high school.
That's
Whoa.
Like when I was in early high school, I
had-
think I was
I don't
ninth or
think I
10th
knew
grade,
That was a thing.
and I
Yeah.
rolled an apple down the bus,
Yeah.
the middle of the bus. It got underneath one of the pedals. It was dangerous, so I got in
Okay.
a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not what I intended. That's just what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
And I was sent to the dean's office, and I could get SWATs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of my, so I chose. I think it was 3 SWATs,
Yeah.
and he took this paddle out, and I just
Yeah.
got whacked.
Uh-huh.
It was crazy,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was going around.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said something, and I think for people, so there's some people listening that will find this really helpful. This ability to speak up or just speak is either going to be your greatest gift or like kind of this curse.
Yeah.
How did you turn, because it's obviously become a gift.
Yeah.
How did you, what happened that allowed it to be for you to channel it into such a positive way? Can you think of anything?
I really feel like I just learned how to step back and pause before I would speak. Like, okay, here's what you want to communicate, and how can you say it in a way that it's digestible? And I feel like now that has become one of my greatest gifts, is that I
Yeah.
can take really hard information or really heady information and just bring it down to like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? That makes sense. So just learning to go, stop, think, who are you trying to get this information to, and how can you say it in a way that they're going to find it relatable? Because you can't, communicate the same to everyone. And, my mom would give this analogy of, you wouldn't give a toddler steak because they can't digest it. So you have to know, as you're navigating people, am I speaking to a toddler? Am I speaking to an adolescent? Am I speaking to an adult? Am I speaking to somebody who's left-brained and needs more information and facts? Am I speaking to feelers who need more stories and need to feel engaged? And because of just kind of being around lots of people, from all over the place growing up, and just having a good gauge for that.
And you do. And I think that's partly why we keep asking you to come back, and we're so thankful that you
Yeah, I
do,
love it.
is because, back to what we said earlier, not everyone has this ability
Right.
to translate this stuff or, kind of send it out in a way where people want to hear it, and that when they do hear it, they hear it in a way like, oh, that actually affects my life. That's
Yeah.
just not a study in statistics, and that's not just brain science. This will affect my life.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, and you've seen it because we just did an event together recently at Providence Day School here around our thoughts. And it is
so
difficult.
good.
Well, I thank you for saying that. It was really good because you were there. But it's like, it's always this struggle with us. But because, interestingly, particularly seniors in high school, and I can remember this, and I can remember this about myself in college, it'd be interesting for each of you to speak to when you were like 18 through 22-ish in that time frame. Knowledge, knowing the words and knowing the complexities about things and some of the nuance of things
Yeah.
made me feel like I knew the information. You know what I mean? And it was fun to talk and to demonstrate my knowing in that way. And so we go to these events and we're trying to create something that's compelling, that we try and create a felt need. Like, this is why you need to know this. This is why this is helpful. And we try and keep it really simple and in a way that can hopefully hit the majority of the however many seniors are sitting there in bleachers. But then some of the feedback sometimes is, well, it kind of seems like common knowledge, or it seems too simple, or so it's like this dance pretty consistently back and forth between, well, this is why, and trust us, we do know, about the amygdala and what amygdala hijack is, and we can talk about all of that.
Yeah.
But really, we want to talk about how you regulate your emotions
Yeah.
and the really practical ways to do that. As you travel all over, how do you approach that? Because you have you have your doctorate, you have this wealth of knowledge, but then
It really depends on the audience, and what they're coming in with, or what resistance they're also coming in. Simple is complicated. Like, you think about it, there's a lot of things that we want to do and say, I'm going to do this week. I'm going to do these 5 things. It's so simple. Why can't I do it? And I think when you talk about the students, it's natural to go, oh, well, I kind of already knew this, but because it's head knowledge, and we don't really have the experience yet to go through it. Like, I've seen that some with my kids, where there's things that I've said to them over time, and they're just like, oh yeah, that's my mom. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And then now that they're 23 and 25, they're like, whoa.
I remember this.
Yeah, like, I get this now
Yeah.
in a way I didn't get before.
Or maybe couldn't.
I couldn't before. I didn't think it was as valuable before. But now that I've been through what I've been through,
Yeah.
I'm really glad we had the conversation.
We try and say that to them
really
as
do.
well.
Yeah.
And I feel like the audience is so varying in their knowledge.
Yeah.
And so you can't really jump straight in with, like, there's just varying levels. You have to have an introductory. So what is the common theme for every human?
Yeah.
We're going to start there.
Yes, the maximum.
Makes it really complicated.
And we live in such a customized world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I don't like content, I don't have to listen to it. I can just move on to what's next.
Yeah.
And my tolerance for listening to things that I'm not really that interested in
Yeah.
is very low. And even obviously more so for students.
And then you're like my favorite kind of person. I thrive off of that. I thrive off of sharing my passion, but I thrive off of hard audiences. And I do have this, I don't know what it is, I'll just call it this thing where I can read the room and I know who are the people who are listening. I know who the people are who are like, I'm just here because I have to be. And I really enjoy the process of, I have enough in my bag that by the time this is done, I promise you're going to be paying attention.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like pinpointing people.
What'd you say?
You're like pinpointing people.
Yeah,
as you talk.
you can just see it. You can see it in body language, but I don't ever take it personal. Sometimes that's a defense mechanism.
Yes.
I don't want to hear this because it touches too much. So I'll literally say, hey, I'm going to say something that you don't like by the time this is over. And whatever I said that you don't like, that's where your work is. And then they're like, oh, right?
Okay.
And you may not remember anything else, but you're going to remember like, ooh, I didn't like when she said that. And now I know why. So, my job is to plant the seeds, or I'll tell people we can treat your truth or we can treat your lie. So you can sit and you can act like everything is wonderful and great and stay stuck. That is your prerogative.
Yeah,
that's your choice. Or we can treat your truth. You can be honest. You can face it. You can lean in, and you can feel better.
Dude, that's good stuff right there. We may be done. I don't know what else we could say that's better. But I love that. I love that line.
Having you today.
I love that line because I think
cool.
that's just friendship. That's just life, right? It's like we choose at what level we want to interact with people, out of what identity we want to actually, interact with people. Who am I going to be? And that idea of like, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You're paying me to be here. I'm your therapist. Like, hey, we can treat what needs to be treated, this truth, or you can continue to hold up this mask and we'll just pretend to do this.
And even with students, right? Because a big aspect of students, that 18 to 20 something age is a lot of masking, a lot of, this is what I feel is acceptable. This is what people expect of me. And so I will often go, well, what's the difference between what you show people and who you really are? You know, and that 18 to 22-year-old age is also where we start that ego differentiation, which means, what do I want to keep out of my family origin, and where do I want to diverge and grow and kind of break the cycle? And so that means being really honest that outwardly you may seem like you're amazing and you're this star athlete and you make great grades and you're all these things, but you're also anxious. Yeah. And you're also depressed.
Yeah. You don't show that to the teammates and the classmates. And you don't show that to anybody,
but your internal dialogue is completely different. So I will often ask students, who are you in silence? You know, when you're not around anybody, when everything has slowed down, when you're not keeping yourself busy and distracted, can you sit with yourself well? That's a greater indication of your mental well-being than what you show the world. We're masters of masking.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
Back to that belonging piece you were talking about. What is acceptable? Because I think would be most adoptable by the people around me. They'd be most comfortable with this version.
Yeah.
And so I can remember, dating people in high school and things, and there was this moment where I was suddenly almost introduced to vulnerability in a relationship or something, and it was exhilarating to actually tell the person how I really felt. Or I don't know if you've ever done this with people that you've known for a little bit, and you go back and tell them what you thought about them when you first met them. Like, that's one of my favorite conversations because you feel safe enough. Now you can be like, so what did you really think about me that first time you met me? And it's like there's some fun in that vulnerability, and it's like it really is exhilarating. How do we get, you know what I mean? Because it is that age thing. It is a belonging. It is fear.
Yeah.
But we're all so drawn to authenticity.
Right.
So as we work with adolescents and as you work with adolescents, how do you, I know it's case by case, but do you have anything that you would say to how you invite someone into the more true version of themselves?
So I will often give this analogy of think of like a spider web, right? And in the middle of that spider web is you. And everyone that you meet starts on that outer rung, right? And then you decide or learn for yourself, what do I need to see, to feel, and experience for them to come closer and see the authentic me? Because everyone doesn't actually deserve, right?
No, right, yeah. They don't all need access.
Right, everybody doesn't deserve access. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
is
true.
like
identifying,
identifying
and the ability to identify.
The ability, right, to go like, because some people so want to belong that they meet someone and they're like right in the inner circle, and then they're like, oh, this is bad for me, and now I don't know how to get them out, and now I'm not going to have any friends, but I want to belong. And that's a very common thing. So it's, I'm in the center. Can I let everyone start here? And then what do I need to see in their consistency? What do I need to see in how they treat me? What do I need to see about how they are when they're upset? What do I need to see about how they talk to me? And then as I have those safe experiences, then I know I can move them in without feeling like I'm losing myself to belong. But it's a little bit more challenging for this season of life because a lot of interactions don't have depth, right? They are
right.
There's a lot of change.
There's a lot of change.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, when I don't know who I am, I attract what I reflect. So I might be reflecting things that really aren't me because I thought that was acceptable. And then I'm surrounded by people that I'm like, these are really not even my people.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do because they're all I have. So it's hard.
Oh,
it
yeah.
really
So hard.
is. And it's a process.
Especially like how we talked at Next about your 21 days. And I don't know if you want to talk about that here in a second, but once other people are in their own friend groups, then like you definitely feel stuck with those first people.
Yes.
Because then going out into, and everybody is looking for people either. So it feels like all those friend groups solidify, and then you just feel so stuck.
Yeah. That at the we did a session with Dr. Samantha Martinez, and then she actually studied under Dr. Harper, who was at the very first Next conference, and so we did this thing, and we used Dr. Harper's research, and there's lots of other stuff that confirms it now all over the place around this first 21 days of college when you first move on campus. Is so unbelievably crucial because particularly at the beginning, and it's diminishing towards you as you get to the end of those 3 weeks, every freshman is looking and open for friends.
Yeah.
And so that idea that depending on what you put out there is who you are going to attract and how open you're willing to be. And then as that time kind of begins to end, not that no one is open to friendships anymore, but they have all kind of like
that
made
pool
their circles.
is definitely shrinking.
Yes,
so it just reminds me like what you were talking about with
that's so
And then
so
a lot of the work I
accurate.
do with college students that I see throughout is we're then navigating, they feel the need to break out of that 21-day circle, right? They realize like it was okay, but I'm really navigating. So it's them giving themselves permission to know that is okay. That may have
Yep.
been absolutely what you needed
Yeah.
to get through freshman year, but you actually can
You can
make
change
other
it.
friends and you can
Yeah.
change and you can branch out and it's okay. And so I see that a lot and it's really neat. I have, believe it or not, some clients that I've had since 8th grade. And a lot of them are graduating this year. So, you know,
Wow.
we've been together for 8, 9 years. And so to watch their progression and then to watch where they felt held back because they felt like, well, I'm supposed to keep these friends because they've always been there and it's hurting me to keep them and I'm not growing the way that I could, but I feel bad.
We have
and
history. And
yes. That's big.
wow, that's
And
a
the
whole other
fear
conversation.
of
Yeah.
what comes when you step out.
Oh, the fear is
Like, will I be
astronomical.
alone?
Yes. And so I might
Yeah.
say in this toxic
Yeah,
friendship
yes, because this is better than being alone.
because I
It's
know there's
better than
chaos and
that.
it's better than,
That's wild. And then the other scenario,
heavy.
because this happened with my daughter, is that friend group you make
Mhm.
early on
Mhm.
blows up because two people in there were dating, and then they
Yeah.
break up, and then like, oh man,
Pick
it can get
sides
so
and,
yes, and
you
then
know.
there's and then you didn't have any choice. It was just like, wow, suddenly it's just gone
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And so that's But interestingly, we talked about this again at with Dr. Martinez, but that group, that initial group, just to encourage anyone listening that might be kind of feeling like, oh, well, now I'm scared about this
Now
group,
I'm
and I'm scared, just
terrified.
terrified
Don't
that
be
even first
terrified.
group's not going to work.
Yeah.
Is that group then branches off. Each of those individuals know people, and then they may introduce you. It may be, you get invited to something that they were, and then you do end up meeting. You just want to meet as many people as
Yes.
possible.
Don't close yourself off.
Just don't close yourself
Yes.
off. Be open to it. But I want to go back because you said some things in pretty quick succession there that I think are incredibly helpful. And if we could, just for a moment, for people listening, even that I can imagine me. If I were listening to this, I would pause it and I'd write this down, or I'd type it in a note in my phone, and then I would like hit play, and then I would do it again. But you were talking about these different ways to tell if someone is good is healthy for you or not.
Yeah.
Do you mind just going back through that list
going
again?
back
Is
through,
that okay?
what do I need to see? What do I need to feel? And what do I need to experience? So how does this person talk to me when it's just the two of us?
Mm-hmm.
How does this person talk to me when they're with some of those offshoots of other people? What does consistency look like with this person? Do I find that they reciprocate and they initiate? Am I the person who's always making contact and making plans? Or do I also see that they're there so it's not a one-sided relationship?
That's a good point, yes.
Do we actually have things in common, or am I hiding things about myself because I fear
Ooh, that's good.
that they may not like them based on things,
Right.
that
Can I
they've
be
said?
really me around this person?
Yeah. And how do I feel when I'm around this person and feel like, do I genuinely feel calm and comfortable? Or do I constantly feel like I need to be a certain way? What am I wearing? Do you like what I'm wearing? Do you think this is okay?
The mean girls.
Yeah,
thing.
and that's a natural-ish thing to do.
Sure.
But, I've had college students who've been like, I don't even like dressing like this, but everyone in my group dresses like this, so then I don't want to stick out. So I've changed how I would typically dress and be comfortable. So then that last piece would be, am I muting parts of myself
Oh, I like that term
in
too,
order
muting.
to stay in this place of belonging?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, is there something, if I were to be honest about who I really am, would disqualify me in some way from being accepted by this group? That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, it's wild because, now for those students, because we just did this conference with these students that just graduated, so there's all these people out there that are now in those months in between.
Yeah.
Being done with high school, so pumped, I saw so many. It's such a thing now for kids to have these guys to have their cigars and stuff like at graduation, it's so funny. And now it's gotten quiet. Like graduation's over, a lot of the parties are over. Some of the schools, like my daughter's party is actually this weekend.
Oh,
She's
cool.
about to graduate from a public school in the area. And but then it's going to be quiet, and then it's going to be those like 8 to 10 weeks before they move on. Anything that you can think of that you would say to those students this summer, things that they might want to be thinking about or focusing on that would help, I don't know, it would help them feel a little bit more prepared, a little bit, like they have what it takes to make it this fall.
One of the things that I do think is important that sometimes doesn't get enough attention is enjoy your summer. You know, this is the last of a different season where there's less responsibilities.
Yeah.
This might be the last summer that you cannot work, you
Oh,
know,
right.
or
Yeah.
you get to travel or you get to do things. So I do think that there's something important about being in the moment, enjoying this moment, and trust yourself to handle what's ahead. You know, the other thing that I would say that I hear a lot from students that are navigating from high school in is you don't have to have it all figured out. It is really okay if you don't know your entire life plan between now and 28. It's going to change a million times.
Yeah.
You're going to go in with one major and you might decide, okay, I don't like this as much as I thought, you know, so you don't have to have all the answers, and give yourself permission to learn. Like, there's no such thing as going in to be perfect. You're going to learn so much about yourself. You're going to mess up.
Yeah.
You're going to do things and go, I should have studied for that and not try to wing it. That worked in high school. That did not work, you know, in this class. Okay, what do I want to do different? But don't beat yourself up, and don't expect yourself to perfectly, that's not real. Get through this time.
How would Charryse graduating have heard that? Would you have been able to hear that, you think?
I think I would have been able to hear it, but my brain is such that I'm a planner-ish,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So I'm not the one who would have gone in and like, you know what I mean, have to have all of this. Like, I had a full ride to go to Emory, and then in June, before I decided to go to college, I changed my mind, filled out my FAFSA on my own, told my mom about it later, and said, no, I think I'm going to go to this other place that I'd never seen. And she was just like,
Wow.
what? Like, what? So, you know.
Yeah, you definitely didn't need to have it all figured out. I was just
And you
thinking,
were okay with that.
Yeah,
I was okay
you were-
with that.
you were
Yeah, you know, I'm not saying go
changing it
that
up.
far. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
sure.
But it depends.
Maybe tell your parents
Yeah,
about your
maybe tell your
FAFSA.
parents, you know, whatever. But I was, you know, my mom was a single parent. And it's not that she definitely couldn't have
Right.
helped me in those things, but college wasn't the big dynamic. You didn't even take your SAT multiple times. You took it once.
Yeah, that's all I did.
I
That was
just
mine.
did it once, and I was like, oh, I got that score. Like, I got my score, and I was like, oh, guess I'm dumb. You know what I mean? Because it didn't
I only
match
took it
up.
once, I think.
Yeah, with, you know, what they thought it was going to be, but I wasn't worried about that. But everybody's temperament, in
Oh,
fairness,
sure. Yes,
you know
yes,
what I mean? It's
yeah.
not
Their
that way.
predispositions. Yeah, all
I
different.
would have heard it, and I, by nature, am not a perfectionist. I don't beat myself up. I'm
That's
very
awesome.
much like, ooh, that didn't work. How do we pivot? I'm huge on you. You have to learn how to pivot, you know,
Golly.
off of things.
Yes.
That's a skill.
Yeah.
That is a skill.
It's a skill.
Well, and I watch you live this, and I watch you give the grace that I'm hearing you give to yourself.
Yeah.
I watch you give it to others because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
We had this whole email exchange leading up to this event, and I thought that I'd sent it to the wrong an email address without the dot in
Yeah.
between or something like
Yeah.
that, and you weren't getting any of these correspondences. And you're like, hey, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. You're like, hey, it's cool. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
You are so kind.
We're human.
That's awesome.
And I just love that. For me, I'm going to tell you how I think about it. So I learned to give myself compassion, but I want to hear how you learn to do it and how you give it. So, you know, like abundantly to these people around you. But I watch I have some friends that love golf. And so I've watched golf, or I watch professional athletes, but golfers, for some reason, this analogy sticks in my head. They practice these shots tens of thousands of times.
Yeah.
And then I watch them on TV and they will flub a shot. They just mess it up. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, my gosh, if this person who literally is intentionally practicing
Yeah.
something over and over and over and this many times still can make a mistake, at least in something I'm not being that intentional about,
Yeah.
that I'm like trying to be kind of intentional,
Yeah.
but I'm half of a mind somewhere else while I'm doing this thing, of course I'm going to make mistakes. And so I try and give myself grace that way. There's got to be a better way to think about it. So how do you give yourself, or how did you learn to give yourself so much self-compassion?
I feel like that self-compassion developed by watching people who didn't give themselves self-compassion. So being surrounded by people who were way too hard on themselves, who were very critical of themselves because people were critical towards them. And so I, as a child and adolescent and in high school, realized like that self-criticism is like bondage for you. You know, it's making you anxious. It's making you sad. It's making you not take risk because you're so afraid of not doing the perfect thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw how painful it was. I had a lot of experiences where I watched other people's pain and then me going, I don't want to experience that. And I just, again, had this thing where I tried to go, you don't have to experience that either. Like, it's okay. Like, it's really fine. The world is not going to fall apart. So I will say that a lot of the life experiences, hard life experiences that I've had really taught me the power of self-compassion and how important that is for growth, and evolving and not getting stuck, because we get stuck when we're just in a cycle of I'm terrible, I'm horrible, I should have known better. Okay. And?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now what?
Well, it's funny how self-defeating that it's the thing that you want, the thing that you're afraid of, or the thing that you're critical of yourself. Beating yourself up about it doesn't necessarily bring you any closer to being the version that you actually want to be.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And it activates the pain center of the brain, right?
Okay.
So
we want to hear this.
Yes. The
so
brain
talk about
operates best off of success. It operates best off of like, oh, that wasn't bad. I can do this. But when we beat ourselves up by thinking about how terrible we are about something over and over, it literally activates the pain center of the brain and then makes us risk aversive. So I don't want to try. I don't want people to actually see who I am. I don't want to speak up. And the dynamic of, man, maybe if I'm hard on myself, I'll get better, for a lot of people is a learned trait, not an inherent
that makes
trait.
sense. Yep.
There was somebody in your life who meant well, but they either thought that was the way to push you.
I'm going to motivate you this way.
Yeah. And so then you think, oh, okay, right? So then you learn how to succeed through fear.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That fear becomes crippling and you realize, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm now creating my own fear, versus success, which means, okay, so here's what didn't go well. What did? What did you do? Well, I actually did show up for the golf tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop practicing. Like,
Right.
I'll keep going or whatever. Okay. So let's build on that. And then you light up, your eyes light up. You start to go like, okay, it's not the end of the world. And that's just that nurture part that if we weren't given that growing up, then we have to learn how to do that. My mom, I'll say as well, wasn't given a lot of, she grew up in a very rigid environment. And so I feel like one thing she very intentionally did with all of us, myself and my siblings, was she was very gracious and very self-compassionate and was like, we are not going to beat you up because you did something. Like, she was the kind of person you could tell her anything.
That's incredible.
No matter how horrible it was. And she would tell you the truth, but in this way that didn't make you feel like I'm the most horrible person in the world.
What a gift that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom and dad were divorced when I was really young, like 3. And when I went to visit my mom was very much the same way. She was also super young. Like, that was another thing. She had my brother and I really young. But it was such a gift to have someone that I could go to that was an adult that I felt like had my best interests at heart, but that I could be really honest and ask questions I was afraid to ask anyone else about for looking stupid or anything like that. Yeah. And what a gift to be able to find somebody like that. And obviously, the more you tell us about your mom, man, the more I'm so sorry you have lost your mom. That's like, what a...
She poured a lot in during the time that she was there. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. She was pretty cool.
Can you, if you don't mind, like when we were talking, there was some story about when you were in 9th grade, and I don't know how if it ties in at all or to any of this. I don't know what the story is. You just told me there was some big story about 9th grade, and I don't know if it was how you ended up moving into therapy or what this was, and maybe
so
it was. I just want to hear what this story is. Like, I don't have any idea what it is.
When I was in 9th grade, well, first of all, my mom was a single parent. I lived in a different home and went to a different school every year until 9th grade.
Wow.
Right. So that adaptability, is a learned trait.
Yes.
And when we finally got to 9th grade, I was just like, all right, Mom, I'm going to need teacher recommendations and stuff like that. Like, we've got to figure out how I can stay in one place, for an entire 4 years in order to get that. Like, it wasn't intentional, just, different life circumstances like that. And in the course of that time, we moved and we were attending a church actually with a couple that were the youth leaders in that church. And that couple, I still talk to them to this day, completely anchored my life in a way that it wasn't anchored before, and they were very big on you can accomplish things right now. You do not need to wait until you're
I like that.
18.
I like
You do
that
not
too.
need to
I
wait
like
until you're
that.
20. Like you have gifts, you have skills, you have talents. And so he was one of the first people that like pulled me out of the crowd and kind of put me on a stage, the very first person, and he was like, it was a very small group of us in the beginning. And he was like, if I can get you to do what I need you to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, me? Like,
Yeah.
no, I think you got that, He's like, no. And they as a couple, they spent a lot of time with us, and kind of teaching us how to be involved. And, you have impact right now, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of what your life is. And that was just a completely pivotal moment. He's also the first person, and I was so mad at him when he said this, because I loved to sing. I tried really hard to get my mom to let me take a year off school and go try to be a professional singer, and she was like, "No, that is not happening."
In ninth grade, 10th, when was,
In ninth
when
grade,
was that?
yeah, ninth grade,
my
and she was
gosh.
like, "No, child, like go to school." I was like, "Just 1 year."
No, Mom,
I mean,
I'm going to be a
just
pop
1
star,
year.
and it needs to happen now.
And she was like, "No," And
Oh
he
my
was
gosh.
like, "No, you need to finish school." And he said, "I really think one day you're going to be a speaker and you're going to speak all over." And I was furious. I was like, "You are not helping.
No
You're
kidding.
supposed to be on my side. I want to be a singer and speak. I don't even like speaking in front of people." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my mom had always taught me, if someone shares something with you, even if you don't believe it, write it down.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
See what happens,
Yeah.
So I scribbled it on some note somewhere, and I was just like, "This is stupid." And so, he is gloating right now.
Oh, I am
and, like,
certain. I
he
hope he's
is-
listening to
he
this.
is. He will listen. And but I constantly go back to them and just say thank you. Like they were also one of the first adults in my life who did not look at me as a statistic, right? Like if we knew my whole story, I was primed
paper.
to be a mess on paper.
Yes,
Like
yep.
she didn't have this, she didn't have that, this happened, this happened, this
Yep,
happened.
Your ACE score,
Yes.
ACEs score, all that. Yes, my
Off
gosh.
the charts,
Yeah.
right? But they were the first couple who I felt like didn't see me through that lens and was like, be whatever you think you want to be. And that was a message that my mom said, but you kind of feel like, oh, you're my mother, you're supposed to tell me that.
Right.
Yeah, but they really were a big pivotal part of honing that. And I think they taught me so much about, we know your nature, but you also have to know when to step out of it because you have a gift. And if you don't use it, other people miss out. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I tell both my daughters that all the time. But it's interesting because because I've been working with students now 25 years. Kelly's been working with students kind of pretty much her whole adult life as well. We've always said, you are who your friends are, you will be soon. Like the people, your peers that, you surround yourself with you can't help it. They're just going to affect who you become. It just is the way we are.
Yeah.
But more and more studies are showing that these adults that play roles, to your point of this youth leader, like that the adults you choose to put in your child's life, or that as, an adolescent, a teenager, whatever, you choose to hang around these coaches or whoever they are, have unbelievable power over shaping your direction.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent every weekend for 4 years at their house. They gutted their basement to be a place that we could all hang out, versus doing other things that we could be doing.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
And that was just a really great place. So I think, it's a balance. I still talk to a lot of the students who were my friends, during that time. We do keep in touch as well. But yeah, they were just such a pivotal group of people in my life at that time.
And obviously had a tremendous shaping
Yeah.
over where you ended up, this trajectory.
Yeah.
What an interesting thing to speak out loud to you, that they saw that in you.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention singer. I was the speaker. I'm going to be a singer.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I love that. What's his name?
Charlton and Lisa.
Charlton
are their
and
names.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah.
Way to speak what you saw.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about? What's next? Like, what's up with
What am I
Dr. J
excited
these
about?
days?
So I have one thing I'm excited about that I can't say, but
Oh,
it will
okay.
be. I was about to, and I was like, oh, I
Ooh.
can't say that, but it'll be a show. I can say that,
Oh, very
which
cool.
is really cool.
That's awesome.
Not by myself, with a group of people that I'm excited about. I think the next biggest thing I'm excited about is I'll be going to Paris for an International Women's Conference,
Fun.
June 30th to July 5th, and my birthday is July 4th. So I'm like,
Oh, whoa, you're an Independence Day baby?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, fun story about that.
Okay,
so
let's go.
I was due in August and actually was almost born in the middle of a bicentennial parade in Queens, New York. So I guess
Oh
my
my
mom, so I was
gosh.
always been called a firecracker, because I
Yeah,
wanted to
this is
start with a
perfect.
bang.
That's
But
amazing.
I'm really, really excited about, that conference there.
Yeah, no kidding.
And just being
Yeah.
able to kind of pour.
Well, what an honor
into
to be
that time.
invited and to be, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And you
yeah.
do speak all over,
Yep.
and we will put your website
Sure.
in the show notes and all of that, and
Yeah.
so people can check out your books.
Yeah.
A couple of books you want to talk real quickly about, 'cause
Yeah.
there's two I know of. You have more
Yeah,
than
there's
that?
two I know. One is an ebook that's
Yeah,
called
okay.
Embrace. I
Okay.
actually think a lot of students would love it. It's called
Okay.
Embrace 28 Days of Self-Love.
Okay.
And it just really goes through like a quote a day that just speaks to how to speak to yourself and care for
Uh-huh.
yourself. And then the very back of the ebook is like a bingo card of over these 28 days, here are all these different things that you can do to also show care for
Okay,
yourself. So
cool.
I don't
Yeah.
talk about that
It sounds
one.
like a
Love that.
great
I know.
first 28 days of
Yeah.
college to
Yes.
go coincide with that 21
really,
days.
really simple.
Love that.
Digital. And then I have my first book was called Expired Mindsets. I wasn't
Mhm.
going to write that book. My daughter was the one who during COVID was like, you need to write a book. And I was like, and you need to leave me alone, please.
And you wrote that down. I need to write a book.
Yes,
And you said, this is stupid, and
I
put
did,
that away.
literally.
With the speaker
And then she's
note.
like, she does that with me. And so it really talks a lot about the same things that we were talking about. Like,
Okay.
What's the difference between what we show above the surface
Mhm.
and what we show below the surface, and what are the mindsets that maybe at one point in life were helpful to us, but in this season, holding on to them is actually doing more harm than good.
Harmful. Yeah.
And then the second book, which I don't talk about near enough, is called Get Off the Scale and Heal.
Yeah.
And really focuses a lot on learning to love you in your body as you are, and not being so focused on messages that are constantly changing about what you should look like, to the point that you aren't satisfied with who you see in the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, people should check these things out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is so fun. And it's funny because we were just talking. My daughter is watching her kids right now. So I went and picked her
cool.
up, drove to the studio.
Yeah.
But we were talking about that a friend of hers through her gym
Oh, yeah.
just saw your post or whatever. You want to share that?
Yeah,
this is really
this
cute.
morning, as me and my littlest were laying in the bed and we were about to get up for the day, and I was scrolling through stories, and your new reel that you posted about summer,
dancing.
Yeah.
it was like summer bod,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was on a friend of my story, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know her.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
And so I messaged back. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually seeing her today.
Yeah.
It was just so interesting that it happened on the same day.
Yeah.
That's
But-
Because people
amazing.
get all in their head, and students do the same. And I'm like, life is going to get whatever body you have. Bring it.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
Just it's okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because in my house of my wife and my two daughters, and,
Mm-hmm.
my oldest is now away and, college and doing all that. But when they're home, like even as, I've just been this skinny kid my whole life.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I've never been satisfied with,
Yeah.
and it's just, and they're like, you need more body positivity. And like, it's so funny, like the
love
way
it.
that my
Yeah.
daughters are pushing on me.
Yeah.
So it's really,
Good
really
job,
cool.
girls.
Yeah. Good job, girls.
Yeah.
Right?
Dr. Charryse Johnson, thank you so much for being here
Thank you for
today.
having
It's
me.
such a joy every time we get to hang out. So loved having you on the show.
Love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for all you guys do. You are
Wow.
changing lives.
We're trying. We appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.